You want a bamba? You want to chill with the big boys? Welcome to the podcast Below the Belt. Who flex loose? Who want a bamba today? Who want to chill with the big boys? Guys, wherever you're joining us from, a warm welcome to each and every one of you. Folks like Beatrice Selby, welcome to our international podcast. Below the Belt, who vex lose? Welcome, welcome, welcome. What a fantastic day it is to be outdoors. Fantastic weather, guys. A fantastic day to be free overall. A fantastic day to be free. The weather outside is just fantastic. Fantastic weather to be outside. And indeed, a good day to be free. Where are you picking us from? Up from. Wherever you're picking us up from, share the damn live stream. Share the podcast. And we want to see those emojis as well. We be there. Who out here with me today? Who out here? I ain't want no trench crapo. I know Jagabats raising the hand, Who out here with me today? Who out here? Good to see each and every one of you guys, wherever you're joining us from. It is our privilege to be with me. It is our privilege to have each and every one of you here. We got two fantastic folks who are going to be joining us. One of them is a fellow cellmate, and the other one is my Bailey. They're going to be joining us shortly, folks, as we discuss the age of dissent. As we discuss the age of dissent, Jagabats and Trench Crappos. Good to see you, Dawn, Raymond, and Hazel McLean, and Karen Thorne, Carol Burley, Rochelle. Burley sounds close to Bailey. Charlotte Joseph, Rhonda Ferguson, Elizabeth Norine, joining us from Sparkle City, Spartanburg, South Carolina. Kenneth Dennis. Good to see each and every one of you. Guys, it's good to be free today. He who the sun sets free is free indeed. Good to be free. Good to be here enjoying the weather. We know it's not so for everybody, depending on where you live in the world. Some folks from Canada have been sending me some photographs. My God, it's white all over. And we ain't talking about the race and attention. It's snow. It is snow, folks. Snowing all over. Good to see each and every one of you. Some of you want to bumper, Some of you want to roll with the big boys. Hope you all able in. Yeah. I hope you all able in. I hope you all able in. Y'all think it's easy in these streets? Y'all think it's easy in these streets, folks? Y'all think it's easy in these streets? Ask Christopher Jones. Ask Manzo Walton Desire. If it's easy in these streets out here, folks. It ain't easy. Oh, folks, we are fired up at our end, and we are ready to go wherever you are joining us from. Why don't you share that live stream as we get on to business on the podcast? Folks, how the weather we all are? How is the weather we all there? How is the weather we all be? It's 29 degrees out flipping side in the national capital city of Georgia. 29 degrees outside. It's good weather, folks. It's good weather. And they are telling us, hold on. They're telling us here, let me make sure we got it accurate. Don't rush the brush, rest you and get dab. In my Charmin Blackman voice, if you rush up, you can get brush up. Some of you want a bamba. You want to chill with the big boys. It's 28 degrees outside, and weather.com is telling us it's a 9% chance of a rain. We don't listen to the Met Office here. Y'all know what we say already. When it says rain is sun, sun is rain. If it says sun and rain, it can snow. There's a 9% chance it's going to rain. Folks, whenever you see the percentages up, let's say 30, 40, 50% chance it's going to rain. That's why I love weather.com. When they give you the weather, it's accurate. There's not no political weather forecasting because, it's accurate people. Weather.com. They got no Jagabats and Trench Crappos at weather.com. It's professional meteorologists. The Met folks, professional people here. So we're following that, folks, and we hope that if you guys are in cooler, cooler climate, you stay warm. Do everything within your means to stay warm. If it's raining, some part of the world where you're picking up our international podcast from, we hope that you guys try to stay dry. We're concerned about you, concerned about your health. COVID licking tail in this side of the world. Licking tail, 9 dead yesterday. And folks, I saw some video coming out from the seawall yesterday by the Marriott, if you see cars, if you see people, we're going to show that in the ring this evening. We're going to show that in the ring this evening. If you see people and cars by the seawall, folks, my God, we're following that. We're following that. We're following that. Some other issues we're following. Le Parcan Bond and Lambert Street went up in flames last night, folks. We tell you, as a Fire Nation here, We told you all, there's a Fire Nation here. Le Parcan Bond and Lambert Street went up in flames. Millions of dollars in losses there. And we're waiting to hear what the fire service tells us on the origins of that fire, the causation of that fire, the cause of it, folks. We're waiting to hear about the Parcan Bond on Lombard Street went up in flames. Lots of what you call it, lots of rumors out there. Yep, lots of conjectures. That was the word I was looking for. Lots of conjectures out there, lots of rumors out there as well. We're following all of that, folks, and we're going to have an update for you in the ring later on, 8 o'clock tonight. We there. You better buy all tickets early and come ringside. It's going to be big tonight. It's going to be big. Folks, in other news, Yesu Prasad, famed businessman, Yesu Prasad, he would have passed away last evening. And we know that is not an easy thing, recognized, I think, nationally for his contributions to the private sector, the business sector, a giant, an iconic figure, an iconic entrepreneur, Yesu Prasad. And I think one of the last really and truly voices of a generation that could really speak across the political divide in this country. One of those big personalities, one of those persons that really, really straddle that middle ground there and could pull in national leaders and say, y'all doing foolishness. Let me get this thing right. One of those kinds of persons, a larger figure, a larger-than-life figure in the business sector. Our thoughts and prayers go out to him. As you know, Mr. Prasad, those of you who would have followed his life, started companies like DDL, Demerara Bank, iPad. I thought that iPad in one of their they had an educational component. I taught there for years. Taught contract law, constitutional law, taught legal history as part of that program there for quite a number of years. And so his work has touched my life as well. Yesu Prasad, dead at 93. Our thoughts and prayers go to the entire business community, go to the private sector in this country, go to all of those nationally who loved and respected Yesu Prasad. Again, dead at 93, folks. And we're going to have more updates on that as we proceed throughout the course of the day on our programs, folks. But that being said, I am very privileged to have with us for our discussion today. The age of dissent is when you're taking nonsense, right? That's what dissent means. You're taking nonsense. The powers that be, the Jagabats, the trench Crappos, they're doing nonsense and you're calling it as it is. That's what dissent means. You have a differing opinion. You're opinionated. It's the 21st century, 2022. We opinionated. Who vex lose? Who vex? We are an opinionated people. That's who we be. And I have two fantastic guests with me today. I have the Honorable Member of Parliament, Amanda Walton, the Attorney at Law, and our Shadow Minister for Foreign Affairs. And I have as well with me today our Chief Whip, the man himself, Christopher Jones, the Honorable Member of Parliament, Amanda and Chris, on this Monday, the 17th day of January 2020. Welcome below the belt. Welcome to our international podcast, Who Vex Lose. Welcome, guys. A little extra,
Thank you, Sharon.
Gotta be here, a little extra.
Good afternoon, Chris. Hello, Sharon, and your viewers and listeners.
Good afternoon, Manzo. Good afternoon, Sherrod. And let me say to your listeners, particularly those in the United States, happy Martin Luther King Day.
Yes. Fantastic, Chris. for bringing that up. We discussed Martin Luther King on our program yesterday, and Saturday was his 93rd birthday. Had he lived, he would have been 93. And they are super sad. You see that? Same age, same generation. You understand how them people come the way they came? Same age, same generation. Had Martin Luther King lived, he would have been 93 last Saturday. And today is Martin Luther King Day. And that is part of that encapsulates our discussion in the age of dissent, because you understand that the Right Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was not an easy fellow. He dealt with segregation. He said, I ain't putting up with this. He had a dissenting voice. He dealt with the Vietnam War. He dealt with racial segregation. He said, I ain't putting up with it. We ain't having it here. And all of that encapsulates part of our discussion. For those folks who are now joining us and want an update on my own dissent and dissenting voice, I was very privileged this morning to be joined by a team of lawyers from Hughes, Fields, and Stobie. I went to court this morning at the Diamond Magistrates Court, and in addition to those lawyers there, we were joined by the Honorable Amanzo Walton Desir. She was part of that batch of lawyers too, and I'm so thankful for her. But Chris knows these ropes. He's all too familiar, really and truly, all too familiar in this country. And we said this is a rite of passage. Because when you're dealing with some trench crappos and jagabats like the PPP, it's a rite of passage, folks. And we wear these scars, we wear these wounds with honor. We wear them with honor for you, the people. Amans and Chris.
Sherrod, as you alluded to when you were speaking about Dr. King, he had gotten to a point where he said enough is enough. And I often ask myself, when are we as a people going to get to the point where we say enough is enough and demand more of government? We continue to live and to exist so far below the means that the bounty of Guyana should afford us to live. That it's a crying shame. I look at, and I'm sure we'll talk about the cleanup over the weekend.
Yep, it's on the agenda.
The cleanup exercise.
Yep.
I look at that, and it is really indicative of how far in the sunken place we are in this community. And I'm sure when we get to discussing that, I will elaborate some more. But really and truly, the key point here is that the people must decide that they deserve. And when Guyanese from all walks of life decide that they deserve better, then they will demand more. Power concedes nothing without a demand. And so if we as Guyanese citizens do not demand to live in a country where our free speech is not oppressed, where democratic norms and values are respected and upheld, then those in power will not concede that. They will not willingly give it. The people have to demand it. So really and truly, it is up to we the people to determine that we want more, that we deserve more, and that we deserve a particular standard of living. We deserve a particular quality of life.
Fantastic. Chris, initial thoughts.
Excellent, Amanda. And just to continue on that same note, as well too, you want to be reminded that the PPP is in power, albeit installed, but there is a support base that they enjoy, their supporters, their party members, and so forth. And you say to them that even those with the jaundiced eyes can look and see what is happening in this country in terms of inequity, in terms of racial discrimination, and so forth. And it is expected, like those who trod the road, so to speak, with Dr. Martin Luther King and the civil rights leader at that time. They fought for equality for the African people or the African Americans. And you had in his support for that call, you had Americans of all walks of life, white, Hispanic, you name it, they were there because they took the veil, they removed the veil from the eyes and recognized what was happening in the United States, and they too joined the call for equality and justice in the US. And similarly here in Guyana, those supporters and members of the PPP, they are fully cognizant of what is happening in this country. They see it, they read it every single day. And until we reach that point as a people, as human beings, that every human have a right to live, to work, to earn, have that right for equality in Guyana, until we reach a point in which the supporters of the PPP come to that, well, they realize it, but they haven't come to that realization in which they are frontally saying this to their party, speak to your party and so forth, is that you remind them is that all of us.
Go right ahead, Chris. I'll answer jump in there. I think we lost Chris for a second.
Yeah.
Go right ahead, Chris. Sorry about that.
All right. Am I back?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Chris.
Right. So until we reach that point in which, as every single Guyanese, that we stand up and say that we must live up to our motto, which speaks about one people, one nation with one destiny, we will continue to be a divided nation. And I made the point about all of us being involved and all of us will be consumed. Is God forbid when that day comes, when a section of the Guyanese populace decide that, listen, we've had enough, and they take whatever necessary action, is that all of us who are involved, all of us will be consumed. And I say no more.
Yep. And you know what is striking? I want folks to understand that this is Martin Luther King's Day, celebrated internationally, because that is the kind of figure he has come to symbolize internationally. And people do all kinds of civic things and community activities on this day internationally, especially in the USA, and understand what he stood for. And I'm certain, we don't even have to enumerate all of the things he stood for in his lifetime, and understand where we are with the PPP, right? I'm sorry that I am the person right now who got a problem with the Dissent, but I got a problem with Chris and Amanza. I just the latest one. This is where we are. And these people are going to come out and try to lecture us and this country, really and truly, about democracy, about rule of law, about transparency and good governance. And they are the biggest, or commit the biggest infractions where these issues are concerned. The biggest transgressors where these issues are concerned. That is where we are. And Amanda alluded to one of them. This cleanup of Georgetown. We memory short. I see them literally begging for people to come and help clean up. When David Granger and the APNU FC were sworn in 2015, people throughout this country just volunteered spontaneously to clean this country up physically after 23 years of the PPP. I never see them once hold a garbage bag. In 5 years, I never see them once hold a rake. To the fact where Irfan can't even hold a rake properly. Never see them do any of those things. And I saw somebody coming down on our mayor, His Worship Ubraj Narayan, for calling for boycott. He right. Why they left out the main city council, who should be the center of what is happening, given the fact that they are elected by the people of Georgetown to administrate the city. No, the government bypassed them, gone to the private sector, friends. We ain't got no issue with the private sector as a whole. We got some issues with the body. I got some issues with the body and some of the folks in there. Right? No issue with the private sector as a whole. bypass main city council, lock them out, and go on with some of the friends. And then some of y'all behaving, the trench crappos, of course, and the Jagabats, behaving as though it's the first time y'all see the city clean up. I see people talking a whole set of nonsense. They just discover some street. Huh? In 2015, we discovered some trenches and alleys we never even knew existed. What y'all talking about? This city here went back to this decadence and garbage-filled state over the last year. Come on, folks. Let's be real. Let us be real. It went back to where it is over the last year. So those of you who think like you have suddenly been anointed a saint because you pick up a garbage bag and a rake, give us a break. I, in my own capacity, let me toot my own horn. I, in my own capacity in 2015, I organized what we call then a celebrity cleanup of Regent Street, the whole Regent Street, the whole Robb Street, the whole Charlotte Street. We attracted 500 volunteers. So great was the enthusiasm for the new administration and for really and truly just cleaning up this filth that had become Georgetown after 23 years of the Jagabats and the trench crappos. So some of you who coming after Mayor Narain, he got back up. He got back up. So don't come around with funny. Christopher Anamanza.
You know, right, I'm happy that you actually toot your own horn, because that would have been point of my reference. You were Mr. Clean, wasn't that so?
Correct is right.
Exactly, with the suit and all.
Correct is right.
And guiding students and children how
Correct
to
is right.
environment clean and so forth.
You all know drains we clean up in this country. You all know streets and alleyways we clean up in this country.
Exactly. And you know, I want to quickly remind your listeners that the very next day after the inauguration of President David Granger, the president went missing. I kid you not. I'm giving you inside information.
Mm-hmm.
The president went missing. Is that in the presidential security detail had no idea where President David Granger was. And this is on the very next day after he was sworn in. And they discovered, they found him at Independence Arch on Brickdam.
Brickdam.
And there he commenced the cleanup exercise
Correct.
of that most important symbol of our country's independence. And I want to give you and your listeners, Sherrod, an insight about this same cleanup exercise, this so-called cleanup exercise that was had over the weekend. They used Durban Park, which, as you know, was a jungle with reptiles and all of that was built by the coalition government. Every afternoon and in the mornings, you have hundreds of citizens going there for exercise, for jogging, and so forth. Since this administration has been installed, they left Durban Park to rot. Literally, is that they don't weed it, they don't remove the garbage and so forth. Durban Park is so centrally located that it was the headquarters, so to speak, for this cleanup exercise. That is where the police and the joint services and the garbage trucks and so forth, that's where they operate. That was the command center over the weekend. If you pass Durban Park now, the very command center that was used by the joint services for this cleanup exercise, they are huge piles of garbage bags, the porta potties, everything is left right there in Durban Park. Durban Park of itself, even though you had hundreds of brush cutters and the garbage trucks that were inside of Durban Park, they didn't even weed. They didn't even weed the sides of home stretch from Coffee Square all the way to the Cultural Center. When they reached on Brickdam, they did the desilting of the drains on Brickdam from the Ministry of Health all the way down Brickdam. You know what was never touched? That very same symbol that represents the Cooperative Republic of Guyana's independence arch. You go there right now. The grass is overgrown right under Guyana's independence arch. The garbage is right within that little square that is there. And that is to tell you, when they talk about oneness and cleanup and togetherness and all this trash that they speak of, on the ground they practice something completely different. So Dorman Park, which was built by the coalition government, which was used by Irfan Ali and the joint forces for this cleanup exercise, the people didn't even pick up a piece of stick on Dorman Park, not even weed the grass around Dorman Park. An Independence Arch. The Independence Arch of Guyana, Sherrod, the Independence Arch of Guyana. They skipped it. They started the head of Brick Dam, skip Independence Arch, and continue up the road. You go there now, anybody who's listening to this, you go and drive on home stretch, and you take photos of Dorman Park and see what I'm telling you. Look underneath the benches. Underneath the benches, there are hundreds, I kid you not, there are hundreds of garbage bags with garbage filled to the brim that are under the bleachers right there on Dorman Park. And you can simply drive on home stretch and look under, and you will see all of them right there. And then pass at Independence Arch, and you will see the grass and the bush and the weed that is overgrown because independence came under Fox Burnham administration. The Independence Arch was cleaned up as well as the rest of the entire city by the coalition government. Now this that we have, that we're supposed to call an administration, skip it. Independence Arch, your country's Independence Arch. Could you imagine that?
And that's the partisan way these guys have always operated. It is a partisan way these guys have always operated. And that is why also it is strange to me when I see some of them by name talking about who not participating in cleanup. I laugh because they did not in 2015. And this is not about do for do, but you do not earn the right to talk when you decided to withhold your labor and so on in the past, and now you are calling out people who not fit to be mayor and who not fit to be leader because they're calling for a boycott. Boycott! If that is what he's calling for, boycott it. He's the first and last mayor will call for a boycott? Nonsense! And we won't call this a democracy? Again, you can't dissent.
Exactly.
People have a right in a truly functioning democracy to dissent. So what are we talking about here? Come on, folks. Come on. We were heading down a path, you know. And Amanza was articulating this to me early on privately, and I think it's worth repeating here. These guys are systematically withering away, watering down our systems. So they have a right to bypass City Hall.
That's right.
But City Hall must go and beg them. Or just go and start helping in whatever way they can. Oh, they receive no flack for bypassing the systems. They don't need commissions. They don't need a procurement commission and so on. No, they can give out contracts for a whole year. That didn't bother some of them who talking about City Hall should be involved in cleanup. That didn't bother them. Police commission, not there for a whole year. And a whole host of them have not been operationalized as yet. Done affecting nobody. But a little cleanup that City Hall is involved in, didn't involve itself in, and asked to boycott, and asked to be boycotted. It's though got some people vexed. Right? Like another fellow who claimed he got called Trench Crappos and Jagabats. That's what worrying me. That's my biggest worry. Amanza.
Oh my, Sharon, look. A lot of us have traveled overseas, and many people who travel, to certain destinations, they marvel at how clean the environs are and so on. Why is that not our living reality in Guyana? That's a question we have to ask ourselves. You travel to next door to Barbados and these islands, the small islands, and their environs are clean. I am submitting to us that there is a deeper psychological issue at play here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And unless we confront it and deal with it, we will always remain a lesser developing country. The point is, you look at countries like the US, so-called first world countries, and you ask yourself, what and why have they been able to thrive and to grow? And the answer is simple. They cultivated and they grew their institutions.
Mm-hmm.
Working
Mm-hmm.
institutions, working institutional arrangements are indispensable to a democracy. It is indispensable to a nation's growth. Now, what the PPP did over the previous 23 years during that incarnation of them and the present incarnation is that they are systematically dismantling our institutions. And they do it in a manner that it is couched in a good. And if you look at the institutions, the PPPC continue they continue to attack. It is all of those institutions that represent a decentralization of power. This is why they attack local democracy, because they do not want the right of the people to govern themselves through the local democratic process to prosper. We have to stop falling for the smoke and mirrors. This is greater than a cleanup of Georgetown. This is about them undermining the chief municipality in Guyana, the largest municipality in Guyana.
Yep. Yep.
And that is what it is about. But it is couched in a good of cleaning up the state, so that when you point this out, you are viewed as anti-progress by those who will not stop to look beneath the surface.
And the man's I dare add there, by those who didn't stop once in 5 years to offer a lending hand to City Hall or anybody else to clean up the city. They just discovered we got a city with garbage. They just discovered
Yeah,
that.
but you see, Sharon, they have not given the mayor and city council their subventions for 2020 and 2021. They have not given them those subventions.
And lots
But
of them who are
people of
asking the city to
Guyana,
clean up haven't paid their taxes as well.
they have not paid their taxes. And so what you are seeing, Sharon, is an assault on our local
Yep.
government
Yep.
institutions, shrouded in an appearance of doing good. We cleaning up the city. Give the mayor and city council the resources to do that. That is their job. And unless Guyanese begin to insist this PPPC government allow that the PPPC government allows our institutions to function in the manner that they are intended to by law,
Yep.
the PPPC will always continue to make themselves as the source of salvation. This is why countries like the US and Canada have achieved what they're able to achieve, because the national institutions and the rule of law is paramount to any party. What the PPP is doing is continuing to consolidate power to themselves and to their party, and taking it away from the people of Guyana. But we are busy looking at the very superficial issue of who's cleaning up the city. If taxes were being collected as they ought to have been, if subventions were being given in the manner that the law envisages, then the mayor and city council would have the resources to clean the city. When you have time to be running behind cleaning up a city, how are you dealing with the more weighty developmental issues that confront us? But we like cheap optics, we like cheap photo opportunities.
Yeah.
I have no bones about saying it. We either have to be serious about developing this nation.
And even in the photo opportunity, we're not even holding the damn rake properly for the photo opportunity.
Man, that's another story.
Rake
You
gate.
got the rake upside down.
Rake gate.
God don't sleep, you know.
The trench
God don't
crappos and the
our
Jagabats with the rake gate. You know,
But
God
Sharon-
exposing the folly all the time. Exposing the folly.
Sharon,
Yes, man, sir.
we
Talk to us.
have, as I keep saying to the people of Guyana, we gotta wake up. We gotta wake up. We have to wake up. There is much more at stake here than scoring, one-upmanship and brinksmanship and cheap political points. This is the course of a nation that we are speaking about. And if we do not get a grip on this thing, Guyanese will become second-class citizens in their own countries. And then we will have nobody to blame but ourselves, because when the warnings came, we failed to heed it. I want to see people demand that Irfan Ali give the subventions under the Fiscal Transfers Act that are due to the Mayor City Council so that they can do their job. I want them to begin to hold local government elections so that the local governance of our different areas can return to the people. These are the things that we have to focus on.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is how they distract, This is how they distract from those issues. As you said, the systematic breaking down of these institutions. And we talk about Bonacero coming, and this is really why we're cleaning up, because you're getting a visitor to your house and you're hustling quick. Overseas visitor coming. So you're hustling quick. You understand me? While this should be every day, we're striving to keep the city clean with the stakeholders, as you said. Give them, transfer the monies to them that are due to them. Hold local government elections so that we can legitimately elect leaders to these local bodies, and we got to install IMCs the way the trench crappos and the Jagabats are installed. Folks, wherever you guys are joining us from today, welcome to our international podcast, Below the Belt. We're privileged to be joined by Member of Parliament Amanzo Walton, Desire, and Member of Parliament Christopher Jones, who's also our Chief Whip for the opposition, and Amanzo is our Shadow Minister for Foreign Affairs. Guys, we're discussing the age of dissent, the Jagabats and the trench crappos. And in particular, if you just joined the conversation, we were talking about what they're trying to do with City Hall, hollowing out of an institution by bypassing it altogether. But this is the kind of country we are living in, unfortunately. Chris, I think you wanted to jump in there. This is the kind of country we are living in, and we can't take things easy, We cannot take things easy. This City Hall issue is a serious one. And what they're trying to do here, by going around them, y'all can help, but we can control. Folks, do you know, this is the same PPP, as them boys come back. Pre-2015, I think it was 2014, the PPP organized what they called was a $500 million cleanup of Georgetown. The Auditor General's office have been doing an audit of the money since Noah was a scout. That money was never given to City Hall, Local government under Whitaker, one of them, administrated the spending of those funds, right? And there were lots of red flags raised. Again, since then, they're bypassing City Hall, because all they could see when they see City Hall is PNC. And now up new AFC. And they want to work with you regardless. So they go to Sarah. They go to the High Commission of England, Britain, and Canada. And they're going to talk a good talk about, again, governance and inclusivity. But then include your no state boards. Then include your no commissions in any meaningful way. They fight you down in the PAC, in the National Assembly. Fight you down in every committee. Lock you up. Send 50 police by your house like they did Christopher Jones. Trump up all kind of false charges against you. You remember when we were just going to Parliament? One angel came after Amanzo Walton this year. How much money should have working for as a professional? You can't work for money because there's skin pigmentation in this country. But that is where we are. Talk a good talk, And thief And scamps and vagabonds is them 500 million they spent saying they clean up the city in 2014. And we didn't know where the money went because the city was the same place. All kind of big money. And Granger and team came in 2015. The rest is history. And we have had, you saw a picture in 5 years saying, look a big pile of garbage here. Look, this drain clog up. Did you see that? Did you see that? Everything you have cleaned out of the city is what has been put there over the last year because of the government subverting City Hall with the funding and every goddamn thing else. Guys.
Exactly. Sharon, let me stick in 2 quick points here. Amanza was very pellucid. She hit all of the nails on the head, and I hope your listeners were paying keen attention because that is the reality what is happening in the country. Let me touch quickly a bit about the private sector and their participation in the over the weekend cleanup. As you rightfully mentioned, we support the private sector, we support their initiatives and so forth, but they are individuals who we consider very biased, who have their own political agenda and so forth. But Amanza spoke about the subvention that the central government has not been given to City Hall for 2020 and 2021. And I hope your listeners are paying attention. Because unless the city receive the subvention that we, the members of parliament, voted for, that the taxpayers of this country contributed towards, unless the government hands over those monies to City Hall will not be able to do the work that they're supposed to do and at the same time maintain the city. But as it relates to the private sector in the city of Georgetown pays or supposed to be paying the largest amount of taxes. And if you go to the City Hall's record, the record will tell you that there are hundreds of those private sector members who have businesses along Regent Street, Robb Street, and all of the high-end business areas have not been paying their taxes. They owe millions of dollars to City Hall in taxes. So for some of them, it is better to jump in line with an Irfan Ali administration, contribute a little 200 or 300,000 or $500,000 for a cleanup exercise, as opposed paying City Council the 36, the 67, the $159 million that they owe.
Correct.
So for them, it's all about maths. I could jump with Irfan Ali and we could say, oh, we the private sector support Irfan Ali's initiative to clean up the city. And this businessman and that businessman contribute $500,000, $1 million. But the same businessman who participated in the weekend cleanup exercise, who contributed to the weekend exercise, ain't saying to Jam Public that here what, I give them $1 million for this thing, right? And I send 4 more trucks. But really and truly, I owe City Hall $200 and something million. They're not saying that. So for those same private sector businessmen who claim that they're supporting and contributing to cleanup exercise because they know it is better to do that as opposed to paying the actual taxes that they owe. So they are part and parcel of the problem that we have. This thing about Irfan Ali setting up a safe space, which safe space in any city you welcome those on Lamaha Avenue or Lamaha Street area. You welcome safe space and so forth. But I want to bring your listeners back to Durban Park. And I hope I'm able to gravitate the situation that we have as relates to Durban Park. Durban Park serves as a safe space for the residents of South Georgetown. South Georgetown constitute the largest population block of this country. Durban Park is that safe space for people in the Leopold Street, Bystone, East Ruimveldt, West Ruimveldt, Northeast Lepeniton, South Ruimveldt, North Ruimveldt, Tugville Terrace, Durban Backlands, Meadowbrook Gardens, and so forth. Durban Park is our safe space. And the fact of the matter that South Georgetown in their voting pattern predominantly votes PNC or APNU AFC. It has never been a stronghold of the PPP. They don't get votes in these areas. And that is why for them, and that's the other part of the story. That's why for them, Dorman Park isn't seen as anything significant to them because the people who Dorman Park serves are not part of their constituents. It doesn't serve their interests. And that's why it is easy for them to leave Dorman Park to rot and move on. Because the people who enjoy that safe space, which is Dorman Park, are not their constituents. That's another part of the story.
Correct.
That people must take note of.
Correct on all points, Chris. Correct on all points. And that is why, really and truly, for the last 5 years, they have sat out of everything related to Georgetown. When they see City Hall, all they could see there is an IMC. That could do their bidding. And that is why they have head off almost every project City Hall has undertaken. Right? The mayor has been talking, for instance, about, as we wrap up this topic, has been talking about increasing the fines for litter bugs. Right? What a beautiful thing would have been for them to actually be working with City Hall on this project, giving City Hall the money and the impetus, helping them to rationalize and operationalize these fines, and so building out the system for the long term and not this one-off cleanup. And by next month, this time, whatever cleanup you did is indistinguishable from last month. Where's the public relations campaign that can now try to teach the citizens the value of a clean environment? Where is that to now bluster and boost what you're doing here? Is this somebody wake up yesterday and realize, you know what, Bonacero come in by, we got a little dust in front, we got to change them curtains too, and we got to chow the old mat, and this is the result of that.
Sharon, I wanna make a point here, and I want to continue to stress that we as Guyanese have to hold ourselves accountable. There's a saying: "A people get the government they deserve," and these are not truths that I'm willing to overlook for the sake of expediency. You'll be driving behind a minibus, for example, the window open and blam, a KFC box. That same person that threw that box out of the bus, they would go to Barbados and they would hold their trash in their lap until they reach a receptacle.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that it is okay for us as Guyanese to disrespect our environment, but when we go to other states, I think it is symptomatic of a deeper psychological issue that this entire nation suffers from. And it is probably the same malady that says to us that anything outside of Guyana is better. People outside of Guyana know more. It is probably along that same spectrum. And I'm saying that we as Guyanese are at least the ones that understand what I'm saying very clearly. We have to start sounding the call, and we have to start holding people accountable. They follow the laws that would fetch the box until they reach the nearest receptacle.
Correct.
What is it about the land that you were born in, the land that raised you, the land that you went to school in? What is it about this land that does not deserve the same measure of respect? And so the people have some part to play in this. I'm not willing to lay it at the feet of any government. We, the people, must begin to take pride in our environment. There is also a view in psychology, Sharon, that the external is often a reflection of the internal. And what we see manifested externally in our environment is simply indicative of the decadence and the decay and so on that is eating away at the soul of this nation and the soul of the people.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw somewhere where
Mm-hmm.
somebody said the other day, we are in need, I think it was Elder Green, that we are in need of a moral and spiritual revival. He hit the nail on the head, because how else do you explain that phenomenon that I just pointed out? You go to other lands, you obey their laws to the point of being almost paranoid.
Mm-hmm.
But you come home and you cannot show the land that gave you birth the same reverence. Something is wrong. Something is wrong.
We got to do better. We got to do better. And I agree with you that the citizens of this country too, we have a responsibility. You know, and you examine the analogy there. You know, you got your little garbage in your vehicle. Hold that till you get home. You can get to a garbage uh, receptacle or put one in your vehicle. I always got a little plastic bag in my car to put some garbage in and then put it in the trunk until I get to some place that you can dispose of it properly. We got to take ownership in a minibus. Oh, that cup that you buy the juice in, what have you, hold it with you till you get to a receptacle. We have a responsibility as a people, and I'm happy Amanda has raised this other part of the discussion. You know, you go on the sea walls and so on. Clean up after yourself. You know, I was most disturbed. I remember my son and I was eating someplace a year or two back, and a fellow was eating there with his son too. And when they got up, the son attempted to pick up the stuff from the table to take it to the garbage receptacle that was right by the door. He said, "No, you leave that there." I said, he missed a moment there. He missed a whole moment. There, the boy was picking up the trash from the table after they had finished eating the box and whatever else was left there. And attempting to throw it away. He said, "No, no, no. Some people got the impression, no, that's what I'm paying them for do. That's part of the money I'm paying them. To serve we is to clean up." And that's the impression we got in this country. You know, somebody else can clean up after us. And that's how this government operating, you know. When you see they're done with we, it's somebody else going to go clean up their mess in the economy. Things tight in the health sector with COVID. Somebody else going to go clean up Frank mess. Somebody else got to go in the agriculture sector when Zulfikar done with them. All them fish running away, planting price high, borrow price high. Somebody with little sense and actually know what they're doing, they're going to go and clean up the agricultural sector. That is how this government operates. It's a lot of work we got here, you know. So we dealt with a major fire over the weekend. A major fire. Loss of jobs, this, that, and the other. And this is about the 10th, if not about the 15th fire in the city, these couple square miles, since these guys come in. And if we go with this rate of burning down buildings and so on, or buildings just, what is the word? Going up in flames like this whole city can just be a wasteland by the time we get to 2025, you know. We got to get ourselves in order. We're going on a bad road. We're in a bad way. We're in a bad way. Them boys should call a snap election. Christopher Manza. Carry me the way Barbados heading.
You're in a bad way is an understatement. It's, but you know what I'm optimistic about? That the people will wake up and realize that we can steer this ship out to the ditch it's in.
9 persons died yesterday, Manza, with COVID-19. 9. And it was 8 or 7 the day before. We in a bad way.
Look, you see, and this is, Jared, when we, in 2020, we were sounding the alarm. The PPP took the posture that it was a political gimmick. And that informed their posture well into 2020. And so they started behind the curve in tackling this pandemic. And in any other country, my God, the Minister of Health would have resigned in shame.
Yeah. And disgrace, other piece behind.
But that that component of the PPP don't work. Shame, they don't have the ability to feel shame or remorse or any of that. And so they will continue to march on to the detriment of Guyanese. And it will simply fall down, Sherrod, because when the citizenry sees the government not observing the laws, they feel emboldened to break the laws too. And so sooner than later, you descend into a state of the wild, wild west. This is where we are going. This is where we are going. So you're using again, you're using the fire service to clean the street, but it's a challenge to contain a fire next to a river. Oh, like really?
Mm-hmm.
But you have them washing down the streets and so on and so forth. And the responses to what they're mandated to respond to fire has been less than exemplary for the last year and a half.
And we talk about Edo and May.
Yeah, I'm saying. So we have a problem here where we calling right wrong and wrong
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
We are heading down a dangerous path.
Yeah.
It reminds me, I don't know, have you seen that movie, Don't Look Up?
Yeah. Recently, I saw it on Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah, that movie, Don't Look Up, really demonstrates the consequences
Meryl Streep is symbolic of the PPP.
Of people being tone deaf, of being just deaf to cautions and to warnings until it was too late for everybody.
Yeah.
But what you saw there, as is typical, is that the rich and the wealthy were able to save themselves. It was the working class and the poor that paid the price in the end.
Yeah.
And those that were not in the power structure, etc. So we have to be, as a nation, we have to be a little more sober and a little more vigilant, or we are going to have to suffer the consequences of we hard business. Oh, people say, and I feel. All right.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. This country belongs to all of us. And we got to sit down at the tablehood of brotherhood, as Dr. Martin Luther King says, and we got to forge a way forward. Tough decisions got to make. But see, this government is lots of friends and family. Not professionals, no, friends and family. That's why you see this madness happening here. Chris, final thoughts as we wrap up.
Well, Sherrod, we thought, my apologies. You guys got me thinking about Don't Look Up till I actually strike in. Don't Look Up. No, listen, I mean, Sherrod, we every single Guyanese, there is this part of the scripture that says, to thyself be truthful.
To thine own self. As a matter of fact, that is Shakespeare. The scripture is truth on the inward parts. Shakespeare is to thine own self be true. The scripture, I know we get it mixed up sometimes. It's truth on the inward parts, because they're so similar. Truth on the inward parts. He requires of us truth. All the people listening and them Jagabats and Crappos.
So is that you compare the administration led by David Granger to what you have now in just a year and a half. And you can't just say it's cheese for chalk. It's completely different. The APNU reintroduced the Guyana local government elections, which has been absent under the PPP for 22 years. The APNU had two successive local government elections at the local level, at the NBC, the municipalities, the citizenry of those respective areas.
We were heading to the good life. We were heading to the good life.
Exactly. To choose their elected officials.
Go right ahead, Chris.
The call keep coming in and bouncing me off. Yeah,
Yeah.
they have. I don't know if I'm back again,
Yes, we
guys.
Yes,
can hear
Chris.
Yeah,
you,
sorry
Chris.
about
Go
that.
ahead.
They had that right to elect their officials. That if my street and my drain isn't,
People, you all know Chris in the area are still calling.
yeah, you know, right? Yeah, they had that right to identify the elected officials. So if my street, my drain, my street is dark, my drain isn't dug, free flowing of water and so forth, I have a councillor who I elected in my area, and I can call upon him and her to have this corrected. And that councillor would go back to either the municipality or the NDC, and they will put forward the case for the constituency that they represent. And that is how you get relief. The PPP, as Amanza rightfully pointed out, is eroding local.
Eroding local democracy. Absolutely right, Chris. Eroding local democracy. Eroding local democracy.
But the problem that we have, they are part and parcel of the problem that we have. Irfan Ali and that joint service operation over the weekend is nothing good in the sense that it aids local democracy. They are eroding it. And the private sector, as I mentioned, because they have their own self-interest to serve. They don't want to pay the taxes that they owe City Hall, 200 and something. You go to City Hall and ask the mayor them and let the mayor that should really publish the list. Because if the mayor and city council publish the list of those same private sector members who are businessmen and women who owes city hall billions of dollars in taxes, then people will realize and understand, oh, that's why they participated in the cleanup exercise. So we have to guard our democracy. Guard our democracy. The PPP is trying to erode it. They are in many regions as well. They are doing the same thing to NDCs that they do not control. That the resources that they're sending there, they send to NDCs that they don't control $1 million, and they send to NDCs that they control $10 million and so forth. And then you go through the region. That is what the PPP is doing. Coupled with that, they are not calling local government elections because they believe about appointing these IMCs, and then they go lay blame. Oh, the city isn't being clean because the mayor of Georgetown isn't doing their job. But they're telling you the other side of the story, that they ain't submitting the subvention that we, the taxpayers, give, that central government now supposed to hand over to city. They're not saying that, you know? So Mantle rightfully said, we have to guard our democracy, because the PPP only know how to rule a country is by fear, intimidation, and total control. And that is how dictatorships manage countries. That is how dictatorships manage the country. So what you saw over the weekend is a full display of dictatorship on a roll.
Indeed, 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 indeed. Manzo, final thoughts.
Sharon, Chris, like I said, I can only hope that we as a nation put aside the political one-upmanship and approach this thing with the vigilance and the sobriety that is needed. What is happening in Guyana basically is that the poor and the working class continue to suffer, whilst the PPP elite and their cronies continue to live high off the hog. The rich are becoming richer, and the poor and the working class are the ones that are bearing the brunt of it. But unfortunately, the working class and the poor, we have allowed ourselves to become so divided that we cannot see the forest for the trees. We have allowed ourselves to become so emasculated as a people, I believe, that for some people It is okay for me to suffer in silence as long as I identify with or I look like the man or the woman that is in State House. And we have to break out of that mentality. We have to break out of that mentality. We have to believe that we are deserving of a good life, of a great life. We have to believe that our children are deserving of a free education, of not having to be second-class citizens in their own country. We have to believe that we deserve that. And we have to come away from the mindset that my brother or my sister being treated equally is somehow a disincentive for me. We have to realize that when you create a society of have and have nots in the context of deliberate policies that enrich in a certain set and impoverish another set, when you do that, you place the society in peril because you create a class of people with absolutely nothing to lose. And what it does is that it makes you who have the most to lose vulnerable. So we have to stop and take a check and realize the road that we are heading down and understand that Guyana's best hope is a free and democratic society. And I want to keep reiterating the point that the PPPC has mastered the propaganda of making it seem like democracy begins and ends with elections. It does not. Elections are simply the tip of the iceberg. And what you have seen for the last year and a half are some of the most undemocratic practices of the PPPC. They try to gut the constitutional agencies by controlling them financially. They have overspent. PPP has borrowed this country into such debt that I want our people to understand that you are getting up to go to work. You are laboring in the sun, in the rain. The government, and I'm speaking particularly to public servants, dutifully takes out your taxes at the end of the month. It is an automatic deduction. And your taxes are being used to finance corruption and debauchery, and you're okay with it. Your children are being plunged into debt that they will be working well into their 60s and repaying. And so what is the point of you getting up to work all day? You go back home for your children to continue to be put in debt because of a government that continues to mismanage. And the most painful part about it is that it does not have to be so, but it is so because we as Guyanese continue to refuse to stand up for our rights. I often hear people say, well, what is the opposition doing? And I've taken to asking them, well, what are you doing? Because this is your freedom we are talking about. What personal responsibility are you taking for your freedom, for the freedom of your children, and for the freedom of your nation? And so we have to do some serious introspection as a people, because my brothers, I say to you, unless we begin to be honest with ourselves and we begin to tackle these issues front and center, I guarantee you another 10 years will come. Foreigners would have come and inhabited our countries, getting the creme de la creme. Meanwhile, Guyanese are relegated to the menial tasks to exist. The writing is very clear on the wall. We either take heed or we suffer the consequences. Those are my parting remarks for the day, Sharon.
Couldn't put it any better. Could not put it any better. Amanda Walton Desir, Shadow Minister for Foreign Affairs. Christopher Jones, the Opposition Chief Whip. Thanks to both of you for being below the belt today with me. Thank you so much, guys.
Most welcome, Charles.
Fantastic.
Anytime, bro.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks again. Folks, Amanda was my Bailey today. Just to have you know, went to court early on this morning. The magistrates court there at Diamond Grove. And I was initially put on $275,000 bail. And thanks to the intervention of my attorneys from Hughes, Fields, and Stobies, Nigel Hughes, Narissa Leander, Ayana Butts, Kemraj Ramjatan, they intervened there through Nigel Hughes, and the learned magistrate reduced it to $200,000. And my friend of mine said, I got a little lunch money in my pocket. I can pay this to you, man. Don't sweat, brother. Oh, folks. That being said, I want to really give a big shout out to my legal team from the law firm Hughes, Fields, and Stobie. Nigel Hughes, Respect and Manners. Narissa Leander, Respect and Manners. Ayana Butts. These are some young, dynamic, fantastic attorneys. Ayana and Narissa, that is. No disrespect, Nigel. And Kemraj also was part of my legal team. And Amanda Walton Desir was there as well. My Bailey. And as you guys know, I've learned everything I know about operating under these circumstances out of the vast experience of the opposition chief with Christopher Jones. But again and again, thanks to my fantastic team of lawyers there from Hughes, Fields, and Stobie, one of the best law firms in this country. Respect and Manners. I also want to say, I also want to say that Magistrate Judy Lutchman really comported herself with absolute professionalism this morning. And I really want to say respect and manners, Magistrate Lutchman. Respect and manners. That being said, folks, this case goes back to the Magistrates Court on February 10th. This is the Jagabats and Trench Crappos case. On February 10th, folks, I pleaded not guilty this morning, and we fired up this team of lawyers. We fired up and ready to go, folks. Fired up and ready to go. Thank you guys for your immense support. Those of you who showed up there this morning, thank you for your immense support. Guys, you know, we've said it here. Your partnership with us makes the difference in expanding these programs and helping us to subsidize some of this costs and all of that, legal costs and so forth. And we know they're going to be attacking us in the future. You think this is the only one? You think this is the first and only rendezvous? We first and last rodeo? No. We gotta make sure that we gotta be our chests always ready. Guys, why don't you come on board and partner with us? Help us to build out our programs. Help us to do more of these podcasts below the belt. Help us to do more of our programs below the in the ring. Help us to build out our website, Credible Sources. And we're gonna be launching some merchandise on that website. I think before the day is up. Launching some merchandise on that website as well, folks. Thanks for coming on board and for partnering with us. And thanks for those of you who are already on board with us consistently, guys. We got Cash App available. You know, we say between $5 and $20 US per month. Come on board and partner with us. If y'all can do more, do more. The Cash App is available, the Cash App platform. Our Cash App handle is inthering592 at gmail.com. Our Cash App handle is inthering592 at gmail.com. Our PayPal handle or PayPal email address is inthering592 at gmail.com. Inthering592 at gmail.com. And we are also available via MMG, that's the GT&T, the Guyanese, quote-unquote, Cash App. Our number there is 627-6963, 627-6963. And we are also available via MoneyGram and via Western Union. Folks, help us so we can stay out front fighting the Trench Crappos and the Jagabats. Come on board and partner with us. We need your help to continue to do this, folks. We need your help. Thank you so much. We're going to be right back here at 8 tonight in the ring. In the ring. Thanks for joining our international podcast, Below the Belt. Who vex lose? Who vex vex? Stay safe, guys. Stay safe out there. Stay safe.